Good evening and welcome back to the Outdoor Tourism Content Creator Training. I'm so happy to see so many of you back on the call. Great that so many of you are still with us in this training, and I'm really happy that we can start the fourth session today. So we're on session 4 out of 6, and again we have an exciting topic today for you. Today it's going to be all about high-ranking content. Let's get started then. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so today, as I said, is session 4 of the Outdoor Tourism Content Creator Training, and our topic today is high-ranking content. And just to quickly run you through the entire course again, we started with an introduction into content-based outdoor tourism promotion, and then we looked into digitalization of data and information from the destination, looked into GPX recording, how we can get information from your region onto a digital map, before last week, where we looked into text creation. So how can we write compelling text, captivating descriptions, narratives? How can we incorporate storytelling into our content creation? And what digital tools can we use to support our content creation? Today, it's going to be all about high-ranking content. So this is about improving your visibility and the content that you create. How can you make sure that it gets ranked to the top and that as many people as possible can see it? And next week, we have a topic that I'm very, very excited about. We're going to look into the basics of photography and how to create convincing offers and how to put points of interest on the map in our session on making places and offers seen. And then on April 10, it's actually our last session already, called Spreading the Words. There it will be all about how we can use different platforms and social media for the best result in terms of increasing your visibility and the visibility of your content. But right now we're in session 4, high-ranking content, and the topic for today is really about visibility and how we can improve it. This is something that you already know, but I'm just going to repeat it real quick for those who are joining live for the very first time today. Each session of this training consists of an introduction by me, and then we have 2 training modules that are pre-recorded, so that all of the screen recordings and all these other things work flawlessly, even though we're going to see a few flaws today, but I'm going to talk more about that later. And then we're always going to have a discussion, a Q&A session, a question and answer session, where you can ask your questions and we can discuss them. We will be using Outdooractive, the platform, as an example in this course. But everything that you learn here about content creation, about increasing your visibility, applies to any other online platform and presence as well. So you can transfer all of that to other sources and channels as well. If you do join this course, you receive free access to Outdooractive Business, so you can try out everything in practice. You should have received instructions for that in the previous sessions and also in the emails that I send out. And you also, if you join any live session, receive an Outdooractive Pro voucher that allows you to use more of the features offline and in the field, that is valued at 30 euros, and you receive that for free. At the end of each session, we recommend some homework, which is completely voluntary, but we do recommend that you take it. Okay. A few words regarding housekeeping, how we do this call. So, or these sessions. When you log into the Microsoft Teams call, please use your full name so we can keep a list of participation. If you've already logged onto the call and you use something other than your full name, and you cannot change it right now, please post your full name into the chat right now so that we can include it in the participation list so we know who attended how many sessions in the end. You will have already noticed that your microphone and camera are muted and turned off during this call, and you cannot activate them. This is because we have over 70 people on the call, and it can get really, really chaotic if everybody can turn on their microphone as they please. As a default, your microphone and your camera turn off. If during the Q&A session, during the discussion session, you want to ask a question, you can either do that by putting the question into the chat where you're posting your names right now. Thank you so much for that. Or you can raise your hand digitally and we'll allow you to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera so you can ask your question directly. There is a little button either at the top or at the bottom of your Microsoft Teams app, whether you use it on the computer or on the phone or on a tablet, or if you're joining from a browser, it's also there where you can raise your hand virtually, and then I get a notification and I can allow you to speak. We'll do so during the Q&A session, during the discussion session. There's also going to be a recording of the session. So this session is being recorded, and we will share that afterwards in an email with you as we did for the previous sessions. At the end of the Outdoor Tourism Content Creator Training, you are eligible to receive a Trained Outdoor Tourism Content Creator Certificate. So it's an official certificate that confirms that you've participated in this course, that you've completed it, and that you've shown that you've learned what needs to be learned in this field, and then you have an official certificate. If you want to have that certificate, you will have to complete a self-paced online exam. It's basically a quiz that you do online. There's no set date for that. You can do this by yourself whenever you have time for it. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes to complete. And if you score enough points on this test, then we will send you the certificate by email within a couple of days. If you are certified, if you complete the exam successfully and you want to, we offer to include your name in a public list of certified content creators. This is completely voluntary. This is an option for you if you want to include your name and your email address in a public list so that destinations in your region or other tourism businesses who need support in content creation can reach out to you and request your services. Again, completely voluntary. This is something that you'll enter in the online exam, whether you want to be part of this or not. Okay. Since last week, we have received a number of emails and questions, actually quite a few. I was not yet able to get back to every single one of you, but I've responded to many of your emails. So this is also your opportunity right now if you want to ask any questions regarding the content or the topics from the previous sessions, regarding the course in general or the Outdooractive platform. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat right now, or you can raise your hand and I'll allow you to unmute and speak up. Okay. It currently doesn't look like anybody has any urgent questions. If you do, you can also ask them later. Okay. If that is the case, let's take a quick look at today's session. So what can we expect today? Today is a little bit more of a technical session because we're going to get an introduction to content ranking on online platforms. So the question is, what content shows up first? Why is some content seen by a lot of people and some content only seen by very few people? And we're going to look into how you can improve the ranking of your content and make sure it is seen first. We will also look a little bit into virtual travel guides, how they work and how you can use them to benefit your content and your visibility through them. And another big topic today is open data. So we're going to ask, what is open data? We're going to learn about that. And we're going to learn about how you can use open data to improve your content, so your content creation. But also, once your content is published, how can open data help you to increase the reach of your content? If there are no urgent questions right now, then I'd say let's dive right into today's first training module. I'm going to share the pre-recorded recording with you just now. If there are any troubles with the sound, if you can't hear the sound of the video, please give me a shout out on the chat so that I can change the settings accordingly.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoor Tourism Content Creator Training. We have already done a deep dive into the opportunities of platform-based outdoor tourism content promotion, and we have covered the basics of how to create digital routes, all the way from collecting data in the field to writing captivating texts. In this chapter, we want to look at ways to make your content seen more on platforms. We will look into virtual travel guides, how to make your content rank higher, receive more visibility, and the opportunities of making it an open resource. So over the course of this chapter, we will look into the Outdooractive virtual travel guide and how it leads users to your content, as well as content ranking and how you can boost your content for more visibility. Let's get started, shall we? Remember Alex, the outdoor savvy traveler who wants to experience great adventures anywhere around the world? He is probably sitting at home right now asking himself, what kind of places do I want to visit? Which activities can I do there and what routes should I take? Where can I stay overnight? Are there any food options there? Any other local places? Before Alex can make a decision about which destination he wants to visit next, he has a lot of questions to find answers to. According to a Google survey from 2015, a single user visits more than 120 URLs on 26 different websites during 29 days while planning a trip. This is good news, as it shows that guests are willing to invest a lot of time into gathering information online. But these numbers also show a very clear downside. The fact that guests have to visit so many websites in order to find answers is a clear indication that there isn't yet possible to find all the information in one place. Traditional destination marketing with emotional images, meaningful brand messages, and banner ads work well to create an image, but it doesn't necessarily give the traveler the kind of information that they need to plan their trip. And then there are a lot of destinations that don't even have destination marketing organization and thus not even a website or any other official information sources. So as soon as users want to make concrete plans for a trip, they will have to spend hours painstakingly collecting bits and pieces of information from multiple online sources. This is why platforms like Outdooractive try and pool all the content that is relevant to a traveler in one place, so that someone like Alex can find everything he needs at once. Guided tours and activities, routes and itineraries, places to visit, accommodations, restaurants, even information about weather and transportation. On Outdooractive, this is called the Travel Guide. It is a full-scale virtual travel guide covering every destination on the planet. What makes this kind of travel guide different from, let's say, a traditional guidebook is that all the content is automatically curated by the system. So any content from a specific destination, as soon as it is published, will automatically find its way into the travel guide pages of said region. Let's say Alex is considering a few countries he hasn't visited yet, and one of them is Bosnia-Herzegovina. As he is an outdoor and nature enthusiast, he will likely Google something like hiking in Bosnia. The first result that comes up is a page of the Outdooractive travel guide. Browsing this webpage will give him answers to most of his questions regarding travels to the region and at the same time inspire him to visit the most beautiful destinations. The content that makes up this travel guide comes directly from those who contributed it, people like Ari. In online marketing, this is called organic traffic, meaning that users who end up on your content this way are not there because they saw an ad somewhere. They found this content by their own motivation, and multiple analyses have shown that these users, organic visitors, are the ones who engage the most with the content. They spend the most time on websites and are most likely to make a final travel decision based on what they find. Let us see what impact they can have in terms of getting your message out to the right target group. This is a small travel destination in Western Germany that has published 51 routes, most of them hiking and cycling, through the Outdooractive platform. Just within the 1 year of 2021, this generated their content a total of 1.97 million teaser views, meaning that the content was shown to users. Content created by the destination received 118,000 page views, meaning a user actually visited the content and interacted with it. There were even over 32,000 clicks registered, meaning that a user interacted with the content more deeply. How do you think it would take you to get 118,000 people to look at your social media posts and to gather 32,000 likes? And this even works for offers like guided tours and travel packages. Here's an example of an adventure tour operator that has published 172 offers through Outdooractive. These offers were shown as teasers over 31 million times in just 1 year. Over 12,000 times were these offers viewed in detail, and over 2,000 times a user clicked on a booking link, forwarding them to the tour operator's website. If you look at that from the perspective of a destination, the possible impact is huge. If one stakeholder uploads, let's say, 5 routes to the platform and each of them create 500 page views in the first year, that means some 2,500 travelers might see local content from the region. Now, if not just one, but 5 stakeholders upload and publish 5 routes each, you end up with 25 published routes and possibly over 12,500 page views in the first year alone. What does that mean for you if you are, for example, a local tour operator? Let's say you put in the effort of creating and publishing a total of 10 hiking routes. Let's say it takes you 2 hours to create 1 route. So the total effort for this is 20 hours of work. In each of these routes, you include information about your guided tours and a link to your business. If each of these routes is seen by 500 users in the first year, you may have reached up to 5,000 travelers with this content. And even if just 3% of them are inspired to travel to your region, that means you have generated 150 new tourists to your destination. And now, let's say that just 3% of those 3% end up clicking on your business link and book your guided tour. That means you have won 4 to 5 new paying customers. And it's not like your content will disappear after a year. It stays online and keeps being seen by travelers. So this kind of reach keeps repeating year after year, and all that for the effort of just 20 hours. If you keep creating content like this just for 20 hours every year, your content might reach up to 50,000 people over the course of 5 years. This will almost certainly inspire hundreds of travelers to visit your region and can easily bring you dozens of new paying customers. The vision behind a platform like Outdooractive is to make sure that emerging outdoor tourism destinations get the visibility they deserve so that all travelers looking for an authentic outdoor experience can find them all over the world. And by contributing your content to the platform, you can make that happen while generating interest for your individual business at the same time. The internet is full of content, and so is a platform like Outdooractive. As of 2023, there are more than 1 million routes and over 750,000 points of interest published through Outdooractive worldwide. While your region might not yet have a big number of activities published, through this and other platforms, this might change in the near future. So the question that arises from this is, how can you make sure your content is seen among all of this? This is where content ranking comes into play. Content ranking refers to any algorithm or system that automatically decides which content is shown to whom first. Depending on the platform, content might be ranked based on user preferences, the popularity of content, or even favoring those authors that pay extra. On Outdooractive, content ranking is based mainly on one thing: quality. An internal algorithm checks the quality of your content against multiple criteria and then assigns a rank to it. This rank is basically a quality score, ranging from 0 to 100, with 100 being the best score you can get. In practice, this means that if you browse any given region on the Outdooractive Route Finder, the first results that you are going to see are those with the highest rank. This works even with active filters. The same is true for points of interest such as restaurants, hotels, and etc. A special feature concerns routes with a rank of over 65, which are considered top routes on Outdooractive, meaning they display a sufficient level of quality and are thus given preferential treatment. Routes with a top rank receive a little badge at the top and in alt teaser. Users can even filter for top routes, and many do. The content ranking is also highly relevant for the Outdooractive virtual travel guide. As you can see in this example, any activity-oriented travel guide page, like Hikes in North Macedonia, will display a selection of 10 featured routes and activities. Whichever route has the highest rank in all of North Macedonia will be shown first here. Okay, it will probably be difficult to get your content among the 10 best routes of the entire country, although not impossible. But if we go into individual regions or destinations, it becomes a lot more realistic. Like for this travel guide page on hiking in the Baba Mountains, remember, the Baba Mountains are the region in which we said Ari lives. So her goal should be to get the rank of her route as high as possible so that her content will be seen first by travelers interested in traveling to this part of North Macedonia. How can this be done? Let's look at it together. Remember this route that Ari has been working on from Lavci to Neolitsa Peak. Ari has already added different descriptions, texts, and details, and she has added a couple of images. She now navigates to the status tab where the rank is displayed prominently at the top. Not bad. Currently at 78 points. That means that Ari's route does already fall into the category of top routes. Her goal is to get as close to the rank of 100 though, as this will mean that her content will always be among the most visible. How can this be done? Simply by making her content even better than it already is. A first step is to go through the different tabs and to check whether Ari has filled in all of the relevant text boxes, especially here in the tab Description. Even if she has filled in everything, it is also important that the text she has written has the appropriate length. Let's see. Her summary is supposed to be between 150 and 180 characters long, and it is looking good. The description looks also fine, as it is supposed to be between 850 and 1,000 characters long. Perfect! The author's advice is ideally between 100 and 150 characters long, but in Ari's case, it is much too short. So Ari changes it to slightly longer text, which makes the whole thing even nicer, like this. Now she can consult the status tab again and see whether her rank has improved, and it has. We are at 80 out of 100. Now, well done. Another thing she can check is whether she has provided enough images. At the Media tab, Ari can see that she has currently uploaded 2 images. They are nice, but ideally she should provide at least 8 images with every route, so that users can get a good idea of the activity, the route, and the landscape. Ari can now upload more images like this. We will speed this process up a little. And there we go. Ari has uploaded 8 images now. Let's check the status tab again. Well done. A rank of 88. This is already very good. There is one more thing she can do, however, and that is to link points of interest to the content. As we haven't discussed this yet, we will leave it at this for now. But in one of the next chapters, Ari is going to link some points of interest to this route, and this will boost her rank even more. In the end, Ari is going to publish her route, and we will see where her content ends up in the Outdooractive travel guide. To sum this up, content ranking is something very important to consider, as it determines how high up your content ranks in comparison to all of the other content on the platform, and therefore how often it will be seen by users. You should always strive to get the rank of your content up as much as possible. Any route with a rank over 65 is considered a top route, but the closer you get to 100, the better.
That was training module number 1 for today's session. Really deep diving into content ranking, a bit technical, but also showing the possibilities this can have. So right now it's time for your questions and our discussion. If you have any questions regarding what you just saw, please put them in the chat or raise your hand so that we can discuss them in person. What I think is really important about this video, just to cover the time while you come up with your questions, is that, of course, it might get difficult to get your content seen first for an entire country. So if a traveler looks for, let's say, hiking in Bosnia, and there are already hundreds of routes published in Bosnia, yours will most likely not appear among the top 5 routes of the country. However, usually people do browse platforms like Outdooractive a lot, and we have data backing this up. So we know that users often spend multiple minutes, sometimes even up to an hour on a platform like Outdooractive to get inspiration for travels. And this is in the age of the internet, where usually we have an attention span of about 15 seconds. This actually means people really do interact with a lot of content. They look at a lot of stuff. So it is quite likely that they will start exploring different regions, different destinations. And then if your content ranks high up there, it can really improve the visibility of your business, of your individual destination or the location that you want to attract visitors to. Of course, this can only work if your content has the appropriate rank, so meaning that it ranks really high, which means you have to make the quality of your content really good, which is what this entire course is about, basically, that we know how to make content that is good, that has a good quality. But it also means that it should not only fulfill, let's say, the technical criteria of is this text long enough, are there enough pictures, but also what is in those texts and what is seen in those pictures. So of course, if you manage to come up with a route description by basically, for example, that is very, very inspirational and that attracts people because it sounds like it's definitely an adventure that they want to experience, they are very likely to engage with that more and maybe even look at more content from the region. The same is true if you manage to, I don't know, present your guest house in a very compelling way or present your tour guiding business in a very compelling way. Next session, we're going to look at the creation of offers, how you can even include guided activities so that people. First, you have to make sure that if you create good content, it also needs to rank well so that people will actually see it, because otherwise, you're sort of staying in the hidden, and then users, travelers, will have a hard time even finding your content. This is why these technical aspects are important. Okay, we have a number of questions on the chat. I'm going to start with the first one from Peter. Peter is asking, at any point, is there any live person, any actual human, reviewing or ranking the route or POI uploaded on the platform? Peter, usually, no, that's not done. We, as I mentioned before, we have millions of routes on the Outdooractive platform at this point, and if there would be somebody who would have to review all of them by hand, it would be impossible to do. Instead, we're trusting on these algorithms, and we're basically making sure that through these algorithms, it can be checked whether the content fulfills its purpose. Of course, if there is content that violates the standards of the platform, let's say if there's anything illegal in there, or if there is even language in there that shouldn't be in there, or there's some harmful messages in there, then it will be removed by hand, or at least the author will be asked to change it. But then also there are mechanisms for, let's say, crowd control a little bit. So meaning there is the opportunity of reviewing content, and this is done a lot, so that people give, let's say, they see a route description that you published, and then they give it 5 stars. If your route description is bad, and there are some examples on the platform where somebody's just plainly uploading wrong information, and somebody sees this, they will probably give it a very low ranking of 1 star, and then they will leave a little review saying, hey, this is not correct, or hey, please change this, you're giving false information here. This way, the community supports each other and helps balance out this information, make sure that the accurate information is seen first, and that the information is checked. In the end, it wouldn't really make sense for somebody at Outdooractive or any other human being to check every route, because if you upload something, let's say from Bulgaria, and Outdooractive employees or content reviewers are seated, let's say, in Germany or in the United States or somewhere else in Europe, it's quite likely they have never even been to Bulgaria, or at least that specific part of Bulgaria. You know the area much better. This is why the algorithm always favors local businesses, meaning that if you sign up for an Outdooractive business account with your local business, you automatically receive a higher rank on the platform, meaning that your content will be seen first, because the community trusts that if you are from this region and you're representing a professional tourism business, you probably know your stuff much better than anyone else in the world, because you are the local. And this is in the end what it's about, that you as a local business owner, or you as a local trail manager or a local destination manager can send out content or can share content with the world that comes from the region and is therefore first-hand experience, so to say. It will, by the way, also rank higher than content coming from a community account. So let's say if a traveler from France visits Bulgaria for the first time and records a hike there, they can also upload it to the platform, but it will definitely rank lower than your content if it has more or less the same quality. Your content is going to rank much higher because you are the local tourism expert. Okay. Then we have the question from Michael. If I have an accommodation with high ranking on TripAdvisor or Booking.com, can I link it to routes I created to create better visibility? Would this have an impact on the Outdooractive ranking? Answer here is yes and no. So yes, you can link them. It is always possible to place links in route descriptions and also very, very importantly in POIs. In the next session, we're going to look into that more, how you can create points of interest, and your accommodation is a point of interest for travelers because it is a place that they most likely want to visit. And then you can even include your booking.com link or your TripAdvisor link or both, so that people can first of all find more information, but also directly make a booking with your accommodation. What this does not do is affect directly the Outdooractive rank, because there's currently no mechanism. This might change in the future, but at the moment, this does not affect the rank within the platform. However, there is another issue that we do not open too much in this training, because then it would get too complicated, and that is the whole topic of search engine optimization. Now it gets really technical. For those who are not familiar with search engine optimization, search engines are websites like google.com or Yahoo or Bing that allow you to search the internet. So whenever you Google something, you're using a search engine. And one aim of anybody who does online marketing or promotion is basically to get their website or their content ranked the highest in Google. This is a very complicated thing, and there are a lot of people who actually have made a big business out of this, called search engine optimization, or in short, SEO. And it is very complicated because Google keeps changing the algorithm all the time. So every other month or so, Google changes the algorithm, and everybody has to start new and find out sort of what affects their ranking within Google and how they can improve it. And this is why it becomes really, really complicated. The good thing is that platforms like Outdooractive, basically, we do a lot of search engine optimization for the platform, because we also want to make sure that Outdooractive is seen first. And then you, as the business or expert who uploads content to Outdooractive, benefits from that. As you could see, for example, in the example with Bosnia, with hiking in Bosnia travel guide page. So in that example, the user Googled hiking in Bosnia, and then saw the Outdooractive travel guide page. So if your content is on that page, then you're benefiting from the search engine optimization that Outdooractive is doing. And actually, basically linking content between different platforms can help the search engine optimization of Outdooractive and then your content in specific. And it is not unlikely, and this happens a lot, that, for example, if somebody Googles something a little more specific, something like, let's say, hiking in the Baba Mountains, it is quite possible that, for example, your Outdooractive route description in the Baba Mountains, or that Ari in this case uploaded, is shown among the Google search results directly without a travel guide or anything else, because it has these interlinks. And the same is true for points of interest. So it can help your visibility, and it makes sense to interlink, to link content between different platforms. So if you have something on TripAdvisor, if you have something on Google Business, if you have something on Booking.com, on Airbnb, you can link it back to your content on Outdooractive, and this benefits your search engine visibility, even though it does not directly affect your Outdooractive rank within the platform. Michael, I hope this answers your question, and I do agree Ecosia is a great search engine because it plants trees while you search, but of course sometimes the search results are not quite as good as with Google, but Ecosia is also a great search engine, so thanks for pointing that out. Okay, then we have a question from Dritan. Dritan is asking, you mentioned offline possibility fee waived, is it correct? Okay, so Dritan, you're basically saying that you did not receive the Outdooractive Pro voucher. I think I've seen your name before, so you should have actually received your voucher code via email. Maybe you can just send me an email real quick, and then I'll look into it. We had a similar case last week where somebody had not yet received their voucher code. There's sometimes an issue with the emails that they don't go through because they're considered spam or something like that, but I will look into it. Just send me an email right after this session, and I will make sure that you get the access code. If there are other people who have the same issue, that you have attended a live training session before and you have not yet received to Outdooractive Pro, which allows you to use maps and everything offline, please also send me an email right after the session so that I can make sure you get your verification there. Okay. Do we have other questions? You can put them in the chat or raise your hand. we definitely have a few more minutes for that. Doesn't seem that way. I'd say let's move on to the second module of today's training then, which is going to be a slight shift of topic because we're going to look into open data and the possibilities of it. I myself am a huge advocate for open data, but there are different opinions on that. So, we're trying to level this out in the training and make sure that we're not forcing anything on you. But I believe that open data is very, very valuable because it allows basically us all to collaboratively achieve a lot more. In many, many cases, as you could also see in the first module, if we sort of work together, and that doesn't even mean we have to be in the same room or that we even have to know each other, but if we all contribute our content, our data, our information together, then we can create much, much better results for everyone on this planet. I think a great example for that is Wikipedia. I'm not sure how many of you use it, but it is the most accurate and most complete dictionary, not dictionary, encyclopedia that the world has ever had. So it's basically the knowledge of the world in one platform. And why is that? Because everybody contributes without having a direct benefit of it. And it's a great example of how we can, through open data, through open source, through open information, make things that are beneficial to all of us. So this is what the second module is going to be a little bit about, because this can also play a big role in outdoor tourism content promotion. And there is one little disclaimer I have to make. So I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the course, the first session, that we created this training together with a local partner in Albania who's done a great job at helping us with the training materials and everything. However, last week when we finalized basically recordings for this session, there were some technical problems. And due to the national holiday last week on Friday, it was impossible to fix them in time for today's session. So we actually had to make somewhat a makeshift version of the second module, and you're going to see a different narrator in this session. Now, let me assure you, this narrator was very nervous when recording it, and he was trying to do a good job. If it's not quite as perfect as the other sessions, please forgive it. I promise we're going to be back to the normal instructor in the upcoming sessions. But yeah, you'll see. Okay, so this is our second module for today's session, and we're going to have a question and answer session right after. In this part of the course, we are going to take a little detour. Before we continue working on routes, POI descriptions, and other aspects of outdoor tourism content, it is important that we talk about a topic that could become very important for the future promotion of your outdoor tourism destination: open data. Open data can both help you create better content to promote your destination and allow you to help your destination become more visible and attract more visitors. Okay, it does sound a bit technical, but believe me, it matters. Now, what is open data? Open data refers to any digital piece of information, data, that can not only be seen, but even used and possibly transformed by anybody else who has a use for it. An example, if you take a picture of a mountain, this does not make you the owner of the mountain itself. You do, however, have ownership over the picture you just took. You are the creator. Normally, under copyright laws, your ownership over this picture implies that other people cannot simply use this picture, even if you upload it, let's say, to Instagram or to Facebook. If I, for example, use your picture and put it on my website without your permission, that would be copyright infringement, and you could sue me in a court of law. Now, if you make a picture available as open data, however, you could specify in the license of the picture that I may use this picture and everybody else may use it too. It becomes open data. You could still specify in the license that if I use it, I, for example, have to credit you and put your name under the picture. Or you could decide that everybody can use it as they like, even without adding your name. It is up to you.
But why should you do that? What is the benefit for you? We live in a world that depends heavily on data. Let's take the example of the maps you have seen on Outdooractive. The maps that enable you to plan a route, to find yourself on the map while you are on the trail, and to share a route or an activity with your friends or with the world. Outdooractive did not build this map. Imagine if we would have to travel to every corner of the planet, drawing every road, path, mountain, forest, river, and lake by ourselves. This would take thousands of people, dozens of years, and it still would probably be incomplete. The reason this map exists nonetheless is because there is such a thing as open data, in this case the so-called OpenStreetMap. There is a community of over 300,000 people worldwide who, in their free time, contribute information and data to the OpenStreetMap. This way, the OpenStreetMap became the most accurate, detailed, and complete map of the world that ever existed. It is used by countless companies, products, and online services. You can find prints of the OpenStreetMap on signposts, in brochures and guidebooks, everywhere. Taxi apps use it, navigation systems use it, traffic planners use it. Without OpenStreetMap, services like Outdooractive would not exist. Now imagine if every one of the over 300,000 contributors to the OpenStreetMap said, "Oh, I'm just recording this street or this lake for myself. I'm not sharing this with the rest of the world." There would be over 300,000 tiny pieces of the map of the world out there, and they would be of no use to anyone. Instead, by making their pieces of the map available as open data, together the community created a digital database that benefits all of humanity. This is the power of collaboration, and this is the power of digitalization. Okay, but what does this have to do with you? Let us return to our friend Ari. We said Ari is from a small, emerging outdoor tourism destination in a rural, mountainous area. The region probably does not have a destination management organization that takes over the job of promoting this region as a travel destination online, on platforms, on trade shows, etc. So, in addition to promoting her own business, a guest house and tour guiding service, Ari will have to promote the destination itself too. Luckily, she's not the only one. For one, there might be other business owners and tour guides in the area who also put in some effort to promote the destination online. Secondly, there are travelers who have visited the region before, and they might have a blog or a YouTube channel, or they might use social media to talk about how great this place is and why others should visit as well. And thirdly, there might be journalists, writers, or other influential content creators who maybe want to write an article in a magazine or a chapter in a guidebook about your region. The one thing all these people have in common is that they all need information, images, or in short, content. The journalist, the social media influencer, the writer, they might all sit at home and realize that they do not have the right pictures of the right places, or they lack the trail description to talk about the adventures a traveler can experience in the destination. And this may keep them then from spreading the word about this destination, which is a missed opportunity for promoting Ari's destination. Also, Ari has been uploading routes and POIs to Outdooractive to promote her destination. But then again, Outdooractive is only one platform. What about all the other online platforms? Her reach is, again, limited. This is where open data starts to make sense. Ari can make her content available as data under a so-called Creative Commons license, so that others, like the journalist, the influencer, or the writer, can use it also, without having to ask her permission every single time. And in addition to that, her routes and POIs make their way through Outdooractive onto an open data hub from which other online services can get them and use them to promote your region or Ari's region too. This can drastically extend the reach of Ari's content and help boost the visibility of her region as an outdoor tourism destination on a multitude of channels. All thanks to open data licensing. The standard for making any content available as open data is the licensing model of Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a set of licenses that enable content creators to flexibly choose how open their open data is supposed to be. Can anybody use it? Do they have to credit me as a source or not? Can they modify my content, or does it have to stay the same? There are several different licenses at this point, but in this course, we really only want to focus on the two licenses that are relevant for outdoor tourism content creators. First, the public domain license, also called Creative Commons Zero. When you publish anything under this license, you are essentially waiving most of your copyright and related rights. Anybody may use, transform, and make money of your content without having to credit you. This is the most open of the open data licenses, but it also means you lose basically any control over what happens with your content. Second, the attribution license, also called Creative Commons by. Content published under this license may be used and transformed by anyone for any purpose as long as they attribute it to you, meaning they have to credit the creator of the content, you, as the source. This is a very flexible license that still ensures that your name and business, if you want, will always be mentioned. There are additional licensing models. For example, the share alike license that indicates that whoever uses your content has to make their content available under the same license. Or the non-derivative license that indicates that your content may not be transformed, modified, or remixed by anyone. For outdoor tourism content creation, however, it has been shown that the Creative Commons Zero and the Creative Commons by license are usually the most relevant. In this course, we recommend that you license all contents that you are willing to make available as open data via a Creative Commons by license. This way, others can use your trail descriptions, POIs, and images to promote your destination, but they still have to mention you and your business. That means more visibility and more reach for your content, your business, and your destination. As long as you have an Outdooractive business account, you can easily make any of your content available as open data under the license you choose. This is very simple. For any route or point of interest, you simply navigate to the tab Status in the My Business Content Manager and scroll down to the drop-down menu License. Here you can select, besides the standard Outdooractive terms of use, the Creative Commons license of your choice. When uploading images to a route or point of interest, you have to unlock the licensing options by clicking on the little Edit button underneath the image description field. Here you find the same drop-down menu offering the different Creative Commons licensing options. In the Status tab of any route or point of interest, you can see an overview of the license selected not only for the route itself, but also for any media or content linked to it, such as images. And this is how you make your content available as open data through Outdooractive. But open data is, of course, not a one-way street. You can also use content available under Creative Commons licenses to make your content creation easier. As explained before, you are technically already benefiting from open data as you are using a service built upon the OpenStreetMap, the world's largest open mapping database. However, there are other ways you can benefit from open data too. For example, when it comes to great imagery, photos. Taking stunning pictures to promote your destination does not come that easy to everyone. And even though we will show in one of the next chapters how you can take great photos without fancy equipment, you might still feel like your content might benefit from some more professional pictures. This is where open image databases come in very handy. Pixabay is the world's largest database of free stock images that can be used under a Creative Commons Zero license. This means you can use any picture from Pixabay without having to credit the photographer and the source. It is, of course, unlikely that there is a photo of a specific mountain, village, or trail in your destination. But quite often you can find something from the wider region or particular plants, animals, or symbolic images that you may, of course, use to make your content look nicer. A similar database is Pexels. Pexels has its own licensing model, but it is very similar to Creative Commons Zero. You can also use any image from their database in your content without even having to credit the photographer or the source. When uploading images from Pixabay or Pexels to your content on Outdooractive, it is important that you click on the little Edit button underneath the image description field to change the authorship of the image. You are not the photographer. Instead, you can either select the author waives their right to be named, as well as no source, or to be on the safe side, you can enter the name of the user who uploaded the image to Pixabay or Pexels and mention the database, Pixabay or Pexels, as a source. Very important note, you can, of course, only do this with images you found on one of these platforms. Any other image you find online, through Google image search or on social media, for example, is protected by copyright laws and you cannot simply use it. If you do, the owner of the image can sue you and this can become very, very expensive. But overall, both publishing your own content under a Creative Commons license and using content that others have published as open data, such as images, are a great way of improving the promotion of your emerging outdoor tourism destination online.
That was module number 2. Again, quite technical. As I mentioned, we have a technical topic today, but I do believe very, very important with an introduction to open data and how you can use it, A, to make your content be spread wider and be reused by others to promote your destination. And B, how you can also use open resources like images from open databases like Pixabay or Pexels to enhance your content. I want to really stress what was mentioned in this module, that of course you have to make sure that it makes sense, right? I mean, if you upload a route to a peak in Montenegro, please do not upload a picture of Mount Everest just because it looks really inspirational and cool, because that doesn't make any sense. Of course, it should fit the local content, the local context. But of course, in many, many cases, this can help you enhance your content a little bit, give it a nicer outlook or image that will be inspiring for travelers. And especially on these free databases, you also do not end up with only these AI-generated stock images that now are everywhere, but usually some actual pictures that you can use. Okay, this is your opportunity to ask questions or join the discussion. In this case, I also very much welcome your comments on it. So if you have an opinion on open data and using it, you're more than welcome to share it with the community. We can also talk about it. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this as well. Just post your questions on a chat or raise your hand so I can allow you to unmute and raise your voice here. And we have the first question by Vyosa Mulatahiri, who's asking, if we use the picture but we refer to the source and include the name of the author, I guess it is okay? Yes, question mark. Very, very good question. And it really, really depends on the context. So if it comes from a source like Pixabay or Pexels, where the images are shared under a Creative Commons license, it is okay. The same is, for example, true for pictures that you find on Wikipedia. In this case, you will have to mention the source. You cannot just say the author waives the right to be named and then no source. You have to put in the name of the photographer and then Wikimedia Foundation or Wikimedia Commons, so that it's clear that you're referencing the owner of the photo, because they're usually under a Creative Commons by license, the one that was mentioned in the module as well. If the pictures come from a different source, and this is a very, very common misconception, just because you put the name and the source there does not make it okay to share it. Just imagine you take a nice picture and then the next day you go out on the street and you see a huge billboard for Coca-Cola or any other international corporation using your picture, and then small on the bottom it says your name and your source, and they didn't pay you a single a dollar or euro for that. That would be really, really bad. This is why this is actually forbidden. You cannot use pictures or content from someone else and just post it in anywhere where you want, as long as you put the name or the source there. That is not legal. It is actually illegal. And if something like this happens on Outdooractive and we receive notifications or the Outdooractive receives notifications from copyright infringement lawyers, they will forward this to you because you are the author and you're just using Outdooractive as the channel. So you have to make sure that you always have the copyright, that you always have the right to publish this kind of content. Meaning it can either be pictures that you took yourself, pictures that your friend took and gave you permission to use, but in this case, I would still recommend that you put their name down there. We actually did something like this in the training session number 2 because we were preparing this route up Neolitsa Peak as an example. I took some pictures there, lost my SD card, and then I was out of pictures. But then I found a lot of pictures on an online resource called My Macedonia blog. And I emailed the blogger and I said, hey, so we're doing this training and we want to publish this route on Outdooractive, but I don't have any pictures because I lost my SD card. Can I use your pictures? Will you give me permission to use them? And the photographer and the blogger, he was very, very supportive. And he said, yes, sure, you can use it. I'm really happy. Cool if you mention my name. And this is why in the second session, you might have seen at the end of the video, we mentioned actually My Macedonia blog as an image source for that. But in this case, we had the explicit agreement from the photographer that I can upload their pictures, that I can upload his pictures. Okay, if you have that from a friend, it's fine. If you don't just upload it without asking. And of course, you can upload pictures that you found on Pixabay, on Pexels, on Wikipedia, because those are open source images, but only those. If you find them on social media, if you find them just in the Google image search, you cannot just use them. It is illegal. And it is very often that lawyers actually follow up on this because it is also a way to make money, because you basically sue someone and instead of selling your picture once, you actually receive a fine of, I don't know, several hundred euros, which is quite a good payment for a picture these days. So be wary of that. Use open resources, but don't just upload something that you found somewhere. Okay, follow-up question by Vyosa, who's asking, what if the pictures are published by public institutions like municipality? If it is not indicated that it is published under Creative Commons license, some municipalities do that. But if it is not indicated, then I would always ask them first. Just shoot them an email or give them a call and say, hi, I saw these nice pictures on your website. Will you give me permission to share them with my content? And then, and this is where I think Peter's comment here is very, very valuable. It is always good to have written permission to use photos or media, even from a friend or from a municipality. So just ask them to give, if you ask them to give them your permission, ask them to send you an email or stop by there if it's in your town and say, hey, can you just quickly sign that I'm allowed to use this? Honestly, we have made the experience that especially in emerging destinations, very, very often, nobody really cares about that. And I know that copyright laws are something that are not respected in many, many countries. But the problem is that whatever you publish on the internet is globally available. So also laws from other countries apply. And for example, if you, let's say you use a picture that was taken by a photographer from the United States where the copyright laws are very, very strict, and he sees it on the platform in the United States, he can sue you in an American court. And that means that, first of all, you might actually receive a punishment in the US. It might also mean that you might never be able to travel there again. It might also be that they might actually sue you in your own country, and then it gets really, really problematic. It's a very difficult legal field, but things like that can happen. So be wary of that. It's not like, oh, I found it on the internet, I can just use it. Michael's also seeing even worse with screenshots of maps. Also true. Yeah, be careful with that. Taking a picture, for example, of a signpost near the trail that contains a map is usually a gray zone that is okay. That is used by a lot of people. But what you should not do is simply take a smartphone picture of a travel guide book that you have and then upload it with your content, because that, again, is copyright infringement and the author of the book might sue you, just as an example. So be wary of these things. It's not that easy. But luckily, these open databases, these open source platforms like Paxos, Pixabay, Wikimedia, they do exist, and you can use content from there if you stick to the Creative Commons rules. Dritan is asking, Creative Commons is open data, correct? We can post? Yes. So everything that is under a Creative Commons license is, to some extent, open data. It depends on the license. So in this module, you saw two licenses. You saw the the Creative Commons 0 license, which basically means no boundaries whatsoever. You can just do with the content whatever you want. It belongs to everyone now. If you find content that is under Creative Commons BY license, it means that you can use the content, you can even transform the content, but you always have to mention who the original source is. So yes, you can share it, but make sure that you credit the original photographer or author or creator of it. If it is, for example, the Creative Commons by share alike, it means that you can use the content, you can also share it with your route, but you're not allowed to, for example, make changes to it, meaning you cannot, I don't know, draw a line inside of it. Random example, but it is, sometimes maybe you have a more difficult alpine route and you want to show where the trail goes by drawing it into the picture. If it's your own picture, you can do it. If it's under Creative Commons BY or Creative Commons 0 license, you can. If it's under Creative Commons by share alike license, you cannot. So this is why it's sort of important to look into these things. Then we have a question here from Fiona, who's asking, if a route, trail, point of interest is put on Outdooractive under the license of Creative Commons, does this come out in every platform that uses OpenStreetMap as a base map? That's a very good question. The answer is no. So those are two separate platforms. OpenStreetMap is a platform of geodata where everybody can enter map information. And it is sort of a one-way street. Outdooractive uses these maps from OpenStreetMap as a foundation for their own online presence, for their own application, for their own platform. However, nothing from Outdooractive gets directly shared with the OpenStreetMap. However, there is an open database called opentourism.net that is basically an open data bank for outdoor tourism content. And if you share your content under a Creative Commons license, it means that your route descriptions, your images, if you shared them on the Creative Commons license, they are on this platform. And then if a destination works with that tool, or if an agency or someone else works with that tool, they can get that data, that content from the platform and use it. It also shows under your picture when you shared it on Outdooractive, for example, in the route description, you have 8 pictures there, and all of them have a Creative Commons license. That means if somebody finds these pictures and sees that it has a Creative Commons license, then they can reuse it, like if they found it on Paxos or Pixabay, except that if you use the Creative Commons BY, then they still have to attribute to your name and your organization, business, whatever it is that you represent. This is why I think this is actually the best license, because it means that others can use your content to promote your destination even further, which is good because you want to get visibility, right? You want to have more visitors knowing, more travelers knowing about your destination. But the original source, that is you, must always be mentioned. If you do find out that someone else is using your picture without crediting you, you can actually ask them to either take it down or to pay you a fee for that, or you can even sue them theoretically if you want to. But usually that doesn't happen. So people respect Creative Commons quite a lot. Okay. So those were all the questions that are on the chat right now. Does anyone else have a question? Just want to share an opinion on open data and open resources? You can also raise your hand and then I'll allow you to speak directly. Peter has a question regarding the ranking. Do you want me to unmute you so you can ask it directly? Of course, there's still time for that. I'm just going to give you permission to speak. Just a second. Ms. Stevens is exceptionally slow today. There we go. So,
can you hear me, Simon?
Peter. Yes, I can hear you.
Good.
Good to have you on the call.
Good, good. Thank you. My question regarding the ranking is, at any point, let's say, well, the actual question is, at any point, can the ranking drop for some reason? For example, if the information gets outdated, the photos, let's say, they're still good, but they're old, etc., etc. I mean, the reasons may be different, but what are the reasons? Are there any particular ones that may deduct points or for somehow reduce the ranking of a trail, point of interest, activity, etc., whatever it's uploaded?
That's an excellent question, because I mentioned that the ranking system is based on quality. So at the moment, that is not the case. At the moment, once you have a certain rank, if you don't change anything about the content, if you don't delete any texts or any pictures from it, your rank is going to stay the same. In fact, the only thing that can still affect sort of your ranking, the rank is only one aspect of that, but then the ranking, basically where it is shown in a list of different contents, are reviews by others. So if your content receives a lot of 5-star reviews, great, you know, you're up there. If it keeps receiving bad reviews, it's probably going to be ranked down after a while. This is also just true for today. Like any other online platform, Outdooractive will keep on evolving its internal algorithm over time. And it is quite possible that in the future, other aspects like how old is it, when was it last updated, when is the last time somebody reviewed it, how often is it looked at by others, is also going to affect that, the popularity of routes and things like that. And also in the future, it's possible that a lot of things might be more personalized, as you already have it on Google, for example. If you Google one thing and I Google the same thing, but I'm in a different country and I have a different browser history and a different Google profile, we will get different results most likely. It's possible the first 2-3 pages are the same, but even those can be different. But then even especially underneath, it's very, very possible that we get different results because it's personalized. Currently, to my knowledge, Outdooractive does not do that, but it might change in the future. So then things will get a little more complicated. But in general, it means once you've uploaded great content, your Outdooractive rank will not drop as long as you don't change anything about it, or at least as long as you don't make anything worse about it. Of course, you can always improve your content by adding even more information, by keeping it up to date. The other thing that can happen, of course, is that other people also, or other tourism stakeholders in the region, because community members are not important in that context, they can never get a rank as high as you, but other professional stakeholders in the region can upload content from the region, and then of course that can mean that they can enter into a competition sort of with your routes. This is especially important for offers, for example, which we will look at next week. That's why, especially for offers as well, it is very, very important that they have a good rank, that you make sure the content has a good quality, so that it is seen first. Because if you have, you know, if there are 20 guided tours in one region, you want to make sure that yours is among the top ones, so people see that first and not right at the bottom, right? It is a little bit of a competition in the end, but especially when it comes to routes and points of interest, it is also very much a question of collaboration, because the more content that is seen in one destination, the more likely this that the traveler will say, wow, there's so much to do there, I have to travel there. This looks like an amazing place to visit. I hope that answers your question, Peter.
Thank you very much. Very thorough explanation.
Perfect. And then, Michael, you shared a link to the Open Tourism Net dataset. That is correct. It looks very technical. There's really nothing you can probably do with it unless, I mean, Michael, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that most of you on the call probably have no use for that. But more professional players, especially in the field of like online promotion, online agencies, platforms, but also destinations, actually do use that. So this is correct. This is the open platform. Also, we might extend that in the future, and there might be more open data APIs in the future that allow other platforms to scrape open data content from our platform. We'll see. Okay. Do we have any other questions? We have a few more minutes left on today's call. All right. If that isn't the case, then let's take a quick look at today's homework recommendation and a quick outlook on next week's sessions that I'm really, really excited about. So after today's session, if you haven't done so, of course, please register on Outdooractive My Business for a free business account. The instructions were in the last email, and I'm also going to include them in this week's emails just to make sure that you have it if you still haven't done that. This way you can use everything that you've learned in this course over the last 4 sessions and try them out in practice. And I think that's really how we learn the best, is by just trying things out and playing around with it. So I think it's really, really helpful to do that. And it also means that you can actually start putting the things that you learned here into practice and have benefits from it and have effects, especially now that the summer season is coming up and you probably want to attract visitors to your destination and business. Okay. So in the previous sessions, we recommended that you record or create a route, either recording it on the trail or creating on the Outdooractive My Business platform, and that you should already come up with a catchy title, with an inspiring summary and a convincing description, because this is what we really looked at last week when we talked about text creation, how you can write good text and how you can incorporate storytelling. I hope you've already done that. If not, you can still do it now. And then we recommend that you continue working on this, but now you fill in all the missing text boxes according to what is written there with the character description, saying, like, if it says 100 to 150 characters, make sure that you write something that's between 100 and 150 characters. Add additional information under details, things like the difficulty and things like that. It was all explained in previous sessions. Basically, every information that you contribute ups your rank. Make sure that your ranks gets higher. Same applies to information that you put under getting there. So how do people get there? Is there public transportation? Is there parking? Everything that you enter, every detail that you contribute makes your content rank better. And what I recommend that you really try for this week is try to get your Outdooractive rank to 65 or more. I believe that's a good start, and that means that your route is already going to be considered a top route, which is a great achievement. Next week, we have a session on Wednesday, April the 3rd. That is next week, same time. It's not same place. You're going to receive a new link, of course, as always. And the topic for next week is making places and offers seen. And I myself am a hobby amateur photographer. I love taking pictures. So I'm really, really excited about next week's sessions, because we're going to have a basic introduction to, first of all, the importance of great imagery, but then also to photography in itself. And what's very, very important is this introduction is going to be about how you can take better pictures without expensive gear, just using your smartphone that you have anyway, or the camera that you already have. No need to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a digital mirror camera or anything like that. Literally, just with your phone, with the gear that you have, you can already take much better pictures probably than you already do, unless you already are a perfect photographer. Then this is not for you. But there are some very, very easy tips that you can follow to make your pictures look better and be more inspiring for users. We're also going to look at how you can create points of interest. So this is very interesting, especially for those of you who might own an accommodation business, a restaurant, or any other site that tourists are supposed to visit, because that's how you can put that on the map. And we're going to look at how you can link it with your route so that anybody who sees an activity or checks out an activity will immediately be pointed towards your business or your place or attraction. And we're going to for guided activities. So next week is going to be a very, very good session about all of these things. And it's really about, making your business, your place, your destination seen through imagery, but also through offers and points of interest. Another thing that I want to mention, and this is a slight detour, also next week, the day after the next session, on Thursday, April the 4th, in the afternoon at 4:30 p.m., there's going to be a public online event presenting research findings from 2 studies that were conducted in the Western Balkans over the last year. Those are mainly, of course, interesting for tourism stakeholders like you who are based in the Western Balkans, but also maybe for those of you who are not based in the Western Balkans. Basically, there were two studies. One of them looked into what the image of the Western Balkans as an outdoor and adventure travel destination is among German travelers, as one example for an important source market. And how they make their travel decisions, how they decide what destination they're going to visit. And the researcher, Julia, she's going to present what she found out and what the implications are for tour operators, tour guides, accommodations in regions like the Western Balkans, and how they can increase their visibility and also their appeal among the German market. The second study was conducted on the peaks of the Balkan Trail. Many of you might know that trail. It's a long-distance hiking trail in Albania, Kosovo, and Montenegro. And the researchers looked into the economic effects of hiking tourism there and how local stakeholders can benefit from hiking tourism through trails like this. I think these are very, very interesting studies, and I'm actually going to be part of that event too. I'm actually going to moderate it, but then the researchers are going to present the result, and we're going to discuss with some experts from GIZ, from Albania, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting. You're cordially invited. I'm also going to include the link to register for the webinar, which is completely free, in the email. Not a date that you have to take part in as part of this course, just a recommendation. I'm also going to put the link for the registration in the chat right now. And then I'm just going to see whether there were any final questions. So we have a website here from Georgi. I'm going to check that out right after the session today. Thanks for sharing it. Dritan is asking whether ranking can only be seen if the route is published. I assume that's what you mean. Yes, no, that's not correct. You can always see it. So whenever you navigate to the status tab in My Business, you can see the current rank as you saw in the video recording of module 1. So you can always check sort of what your rank currently is, and your aim should always be to get as close or even to 100 points, because that's the highest rank you can get. Michael saying, my presentation was frozen minute 49 to 50. Thank you for letting me know. I had no idea. Yes, it's going to be in the documentation, so I'll make sure that everything is visible there. Okay, here is the link to the event next week on the research results from the Western Balkans. Feel free to register. You're more than welcome. It's also going to be in the follow-up email that you receive later tonight. And with that being said, I want to thank you very much for your participation today. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again next week for our session on photography, points of interest, and offers. If you have any questions until then that are urgent, you can always send them to me via email. Otherwise, save them for next week, and we're going to discuss them live on the session. Thanks so much, and see you next week.